Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we are going to talk about popular diets, and we're just going to have a look at some of the more popular ones out there at the moment. And over the next couple of sessions, we will look at a few more each time until we've covered the major ones. And hopefully it will give you an understanding of what these diets are, what they're all about, and whether or not they might be right for you. So in the session today, we're going to look at the 5-2 diet, and we're going to look at the Paleo diet. So we'll start now with the 5-2 diet. Now, the 5-2 diet is one of the most popular intermittent fasting diets out there at the moment. And intermittent fasting is an eating pattern that involves regular fasting periods. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a sec. Now, with the 5-2 diet, for 5 days of the week, you've got normal eating days. So you would just eat as you normally would. And then the other 2 days, you're actually restricted to 25% of your normal caloric intake. Now, for females, that's about 500 calories, and for males, it is 600 calories. Now, just quickly, intermittent fasting. Now, this is focused on when you should eat and not what foods you should actually eat. When you are fasting, many processes in the body change when we're not eating for a while. So you get significant reductions in blood sugar and also insulin levels. And you also get increases in human growth hormone. Now, instead of pulling energy from the food that you've just consumed, when you're in your fasted state, the body is actually pulling it out from the fat stores instead. So this is going to help you because you're restricting your caloric intake, and it's going to assist with your weight loss. Now, many people find the 5-2 diet a lot easier to stick to because they still get to eat their normal diet for 5 days of the week, so they don't really feel like they're missing out. However, this diet is not going to be as effective if you're still binging on junk foods on your normal eating days. Now, if you go beyond your caloric intake for the day, then it's probably going to result in you putting on unwanted weight. So it still is all about moderation, even though you do have that freedom on your 5 days of normal eating. Some of the health benefits of the 5-2 diet are that it is easier to follow than a lot of other diets because foods are not being restricted. It can reduce your insulin levels and also improve insulin sensitivity. It's an effective diet for weight loss. You also have improved cholesterol readings and reduced inflammation throughout the body. So when they do tests for that, they show lowered levels of CRP, which is a C-reactive protein. So lower levels of that in the body is a very good sign. Now, when to eat when you are actually fasting. There's no set rules about what time you have to have your meals on your fasting days. Most people prefer to have 3 small meals throughout the day. Otherwise, they skip breakfast and then they have 2 medium-sized meals at lunch and at dinner time. It may take a while for you to work out what 500 or 600 calories looks like on your plate, but there are plenty of magazines and websites, etc., out there that you can look up, and they will basically give you a meal plan to make it easier for you. Just Google, 500 calorie meal or 600 calorie meal, and it will show you what you have to do. To make life easier for yourself, don't have 2 fasting days in a row. So always separate a fasting day by a normal eating day. Number one, because it's going to be difficult for you to fast 2 days in a row. And more importantly, though, you might, feel weak or fatigued or whatever it is by doing a fast on one day. So you don't want to back that up with another fast day straight after that. Some tips to make the 5-2 diet a little bit easier for you to follow. Try and choose foods that are more nutritious and will help you to feel fuller without consuming too many calories. So foods that are high in fiber and high in protein are going to assist you with that. Soups are a great option as they can be low in calories depending on how they're made. It's still very satisfying for you. And they're also a really great way to boost your vegetable intake for the day, which once again is low calorie. And because you're only fasting for 2 days each week, most people find that they're happy to eat the same things on their fast days. So for example, if you are fasting on a Monday and a Thursday, and say on a Monday you decide you're going to skip breakfast and you're going to have a chicken soup for lunch, and then for dinner you're going to have a tuna and egg salad. That's going to be your Monday meal. You're going to look at Thursday and you're going to come up with a completely different menu that fits your 500 calories, and that's going to be set. And then every time Monday comes around, you've got your soup and your chicken salad, or your soup and your egg salad, and because you're only having it once a week, you don't mind having the same thing every time that fast day comes around. So, I mean, you don't have to do it like that, but a lot of people do find it easier to have their menu set out for their fast days. Now, who should avoid doing any diet that involves fasting? Anyone who has a history of an eating disorder, anyone with blood sugar dysregulations, nutrient deficiencies, pregnant women and nursing mothers, children and teenagers, and diabetics, both type 1 and type 2. So if you are actually having any adverse side effects at all, stop fasting immediately. So that's all about the 5-2 diet. A lot of people, as I said, find it very effective for weight loss. But what a lot of people do find is that they do the 5-2 for a while and they get some great results, and then their results really slow down. So from there, they can move on to a 4-3 if they want, which is 4 days of normal eating and then 3 days of fasting. Once again, if you are considering doing that, you should speak to a healthcare professional and not just do it yourself. And a lot of people, another common one for people that are quite fond of intermittent fasting as a whole, choose to do something which is called 16-8. And that basically means that you're doing some sort of a fast every day. You basically stop eating at 8 o'clock every night, and you don't eat again until 12 o'clock the next day. So you're essentially skipping breakfast, and all of your meals are taking place between midday and 8 p.m. So skip breakfast, have, a standard lunch, maybe afternoon tea and a standard dinner. You're still probably getting in all your calories for the day. You might be getting a few less. If you are getting less, obviously that's going to result in weight loss. But a lot of people find that doing this accelerates their weight loss. It increases their muscle mass. They've got extra energy. I guess one way to think about it is that when the body isn't concerned with digesting and dealing with all the nutrients and food that you've just consumed, it can actually focus on the other processes, like getting your blood sugar under control, getting your weight under control, dealing with all those hormones as it should. So another thing for you to look into and consider if that's the avenue you'd like to go down. But once again, always speak to a healthcare professional before you start any sort of diet. We're going to look at the paleo diet next. Now, paleo draws its principles from our ancestors who ate whole, unprocessed foods. They moved more, they slept better, and they stressed less. The diet is about recognizing our genetic predisposition and applying current knowledge of how different foods and activities are going to affect our body's function. Now, although we've evolved as humans, our genetics are still very similar to how they were thousands of years ago. So due to the agricultural revolution, people are eating more grains, so breads, pasta, rice, corn, etc., sometimes up to 7 serves a day. And on a paleo diet, these foods are seen as problematic. So what do you eat on a paleo diet? Paleo focuses on eating whole, unprocessed foods, grass-fed meat, free-range poultry, wild fish, vegetables, including your root vegetables, fruits and berries, nuts and seeds. Now, a paleo diet avoids grains, legumes, refined sugars, and dairy. However, dairy consumption really does depend on your individual gut health and whether you have any autoimmune conditions. So without going into too much detail with those things, paleo people avoid those foods to control insulin sensitivity, to repair their gut, to increase nutrient absorption, and also to reduce any negative inflammatory effects that these foods might cause. Some of the problems with the paleo diet, these are people that do oppose this kind of diet. These are some of the things that they say, and I guess also how people on a paleo diet, refute those claims. The first one is that paleo diets contain a lot of meat, which can be unhealthy when eating too frequently. Now, while this is true, supporters of the diet say that while they do eat meat with most meals, it's only actually a small part of what's on their plate, with the majority of the food being vegetables. The quality of the meat would not be the same as the meat our ancestors ate. So obviously a lot of food today is full of hormones and antibiotics, etc. So those who can't actually afford to buy grain-fed, hormone-free meat are going to be doing themselves harm, because not only are they ingesting these, hormone and pesticide-laden foods, they're eating quite a lot of it as well. Paleo is more low carb than no carb, because your vegetables, as you may know, are still carbohydrates. But not all carbohydrates are the enemy. Grains and legumes are still very nourishing and satisfying, and they're not going to be problematic for all people. Now, the diet includes a high amount of healthy fat. So you've got a lot of olive oil, coconut oil, ghee, butter. This is what you cook with. You can use it on vegetables, etc. The diet also tries to maintain a healthy balance between your omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, which is really important. But a high-fat diet is not going to be beneficial for everyone. While high-fat diets have been really shown to be beneficial in weight loss and in helping a lot of other conditions, people that have conditions, if they have any sort of reflux, if they've got gallbladder issues, if their body doesn't process fat very well, then a high-fat diet is really not going to be advisable for those people at all. So the final word on the paleo diet. While it's not a bad diet, it's very restrictive of particular food groups, which, if not problematic to the individual, they can actually still be healthy in moderation. Paleo diet can also be very expensive, as it calls for organic foods, grass-fed meats, wild fish, etc. Now, the typical family may struggle to afford such luxuries on their budgets. And another thing to keep in mind, I suppose, is that those people on a paleo diet in 2016 are not going to be eating the same foods that our ancestors ate all those years ago. And since our ancestors only lived to somewhere between 20 and 30 years old, not enough is actually known about the long-term effects of following such a diet. So it's still, quite early to make a call on whether or not it's a healthy diet and lifestyle plan to follow. Just looking at that first point as well, paleo being very restrictive of foods, a lot of people get quite confused because they get told the foods that they're not allowed to consume, and it's not only nutrient deficiencies that they might be missing out on. Then they fall into a trap of relying on the same foods because they know that they're safe, cooking the same vegetables, cooking the same meats, etc. And they're just not getting a wide enough range in their diet, and maybe missing out on some beneficial nutrients through that. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. So just to summarize, I guess conclude what we've spoken about with these two diets. All diets that you look at are going to have pros and cons. So it's going to be up to the individual to decide which diet will best suit their lifestyle and their budget. You should never start a diet without consulting a healthcare professional first. They can help you to decide which diet is going to be most appropriate for you and help to guide you through the process. The benefits of that as well, that can help you with some meal plans. If you've got questions about what you can and can't eat, there can be a lot of information on the internet that actually contradicts other information. So going to a professional to get that sort of advice is a really great idea. And that can also give you, other nutrients if they're required to help support you while you're going through it. If you experience any adverse reactions at all while you're on a diet, you should stop the diet immediately and seek advice from your healthcare practitioner, particularly if you're doing a diet that involves fasting and you're getting lightheaded or something like that. You may be experiencing blood sugar issues. And also remember, the diets that claim quick and amazing results and seem too good to be true usually are just that. I guess something to keep in mind is that most people didn't put their weight on, in a few days or in a week, so they can't expect to take the weight off in that short amount of time either. It takes a while for weight loss to occur, and you also don't want to speed it up because a lot of toxins get released when those fat cells are broken down, and if you're trying to do it too quickly, it can be quite toxic for your body. So just some things to keep in mind. As I said, next time we will look at a couple of other diets, but I wanted to go over the paleo diet and the 5-2 diet today because they are two of the most popular and most common diets out there at the moment. So hopefully they've provided you with a little bit more information about what they're about and has maybe steered you in the direction of choosing one over the other. Thanks very much, and I will be back next time.